Hello and a very warm welcome to everybody who has joined in today for another live with us, The Bridge. My name is Shayan Chatterjee, and joining me today are my colleagues Arjun Milwahanan and Pritish Raj. And we are going to be discussing the Australia versus India Women's ODI series that concluded just a little bit earlier today. Welcome on board, Pritish, Arjun. Welcome to the live.
Good evening, Shane.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Shan.
having us.
Yes, lots to talk about, folks. If for the uninitiated, India have once again experienced a 0-3 whitewash against the Aussies down under. Just a little bit of context for our viewers before we head on to the full-fledged analysis of the series altogether. The first match saw India bowled out for a paltry 100, which the Aussies chased down with more than 33 overs left, and which eventually turned out to be the biggest margin of victory between the two countries in terms of balls remaining. In the second match, India fared slightly better, even though Australia raced away to a massive 371 with Ellis Perry and Georgia Walls hitting centuries. India, in reply, managed a solid 249 with Richa Ghosh scoring a 50 and a few others like Jemima Rodriguez and Minnu Mani, the young all-rounder from Kerala, chipping in with 40s. And finally, in the third ODI, like I mentioned earlier today, Smriti Mandhana took India very close to the target. Not that close, in fact, in the end. At one stage, it looked like India might make a fight of it. But we eventually went down by 83 runs once Smriti Mandhana went out and the middle order collapsed again. So, yeah, that is pretty much how things shaped up. Let me put the first question to you guys. Dropping Shefali Verma, we have been speaking about this, especially me and Arjun. We discussed this in the previous live as well. Shefali Verma was dropped after a string of poor scores earlier this year. But this series, did you guys see a plan in place? Because Richa Ghosh, I think, opened in two of the matches and Priya Punia opened in the other one. So did you feel convinced by the step from the team management? Arjun, I'll let you start on this.
I don't think so. I felt like it was done without proper planning in mind. Because had it been the case, Richa Ghosh would have opened in all three innings. But them going with Priya in the first innings and then opting to go with Richa in the last two innings showed that they had a plan B and a plan C here and there. And also, given that the World Cup is happening next year, and there is a 90% chance that Shefali and Smriti are going to open in the World Cup as well. So I felt like giving her a run of games to get her into form, especially in a big series like this, where we saw Smriti doing well in the third ODI. Maybe if Shefali had scored a 50 or so, she would have regained her confidence heading into the World Cup year, especially given that there is no other alternative available right now. That was one thing that I had in mind when it comes to dropping Shefali. And the other thing was when you're going to promote Richa, you need someone else in the tail end to see through the death overs, to be the hard hitting batter. And I felt someone like a Sajana or someone else would have fit into that role well. And I think India missed a beat there as well. So all of this leads me to think that there is a lack of planning and forethought in the way the Shefali dropping thing was handled. So I hope they go back to one of these two solutions and preferably having Shefali open in the innings.
Yeah, because the pathway is right there, right? Because the World Cup is going to happen in India, and a stroke maker like Shefali Verma is probably going to get selected following the matches that come preceding the World Cup. Pritesh, your take on this particular situation? Did you observe anything interesting?
Made no sense to me, honestly. Why are you dropping Shefali Burma and picking a 28-year-old batter who strikes at a strike rate of 52 in ODIs? I mean, it never made any sense. Priya Punia shouldn't have been there. If you were really keen on finding a solution, you'd have bought in a young player. So it is there. She's herself having a bad season, but there are other young openers out there in the domestic circuit which you could have bought in or you could have experimented, or in my opinion, it should have been Shefali there. She would have got a chance, to regain some form. But if you are not going with her, then who are you going with? You're going with no one practically. Richa Ghosh, it's again the classic case of KL, the whole thing happening. Why are you already, a batter settled in the middle order, does her work perfectly, has been on a good run of form across formats? Why are you gonna upset her rhythm? Why are you gonna make her open for no reason? There are batters who can utilize power play in India, and it was a foolish, or I would rather say it was a panicky move. They just panicked that okay, Shefali is not working, what to do. So, and I'm very disappointed, especially in Abul Mujumdar. I've been a big fan of him, and seeing him taking decisions like this, which probably a schoolboy won't take, I am very disappointed, honestly.
Yeah, speaking about the opening choices, so we have to speak about Smriti Mandhana here. She, of course, scored her ninth ODI century earlier today, and with that, she also made a rather unique record. She has now become the only woman batter to score four ODI centuries in a calendar year, and she surpassed Sophie Devine, Laura Bulwart, and Natalie Shiverbrunt, I think, in that respect. So nothing much to complain about there, but you could make a point, couldn't you, that this innings should have come in one of the two earlier matches? Is that a criticism that we can level at Smriti, Arjun?
Uh, I mean, it's a mixed bag to be honest. 100 is 100 at the end of the day, no matter when it comes. And of course, she made 100 today in a run chase when India were struggling with batters not in form on the other hand. So she batted brilliantly today, but of course, contributions from her in the first two ODIs would have helped a lot. Uh, but then again, I think we have to ask questions from the other batters as well, because when it's this becoming the case of if Smriti fails, the batting unit fails. That sort of puts a lot of pressure on Smriti Mandhana as well, and that can impact her way of playing or her style of playing. Now that Smriti knows Shafari's place is not certain, Smriti has to take up all the responsibility of leading the Indian opening batting attack. So there is a lot of unanswered questions there, but at the end of the day, I think Smriti played brilliantly the third inning, third ODI, and uh, it would have been nice to see other batters contribute as well. But there's a lot of disappointment in the series. But yeah, Smriti has been one of the positives, I could say.
Yeah, so let's talk about the other batters in the lineup then. And let me bring Pritish in when we speak about the likes of Jemima Rodriguez. She looked good actually today for a certain while. She looked pretty good. She came in with intent. She started hitting it around all over the park. But then after Smriti got out, she got out soon after. Uh, and there's, of course, the other big name, Harmanpreet Kaur, who has struggled in this series as well and hasn't been in the best of nick. Uh, Pritish, what would be your takeaway from this? Are we doing enough in the middle order?
So when Arjun said that, when Smriti fails, the batting lineup fails. When Smriti bats also, then also the batting lineup fails. So I don't really know what's up with this batting lineup. And you have a very fair point. Are we doing enough in the middle order? No, we are not. Clearly not. And what I can see here is, Jemima is having a good season. Actually, she was good at WBBL and all of those things. But this series, I have the stats opened in front of me. I'll tell you who are the top scorers. So if you look at the top scorers, in top five you have one Indian, that's Smriti Mandhana, and she has scored 122 runs, and that one of 105 came today. So that tells you there is just one Indian batter who crossed 100 runs across three innings. That tells you the kind of dire situation we are in. And I was hearing Harmanpreet's batting is becoming like Rohit Sharma, and her speeches are also becoming like Rohit Sharma. Just excuses, plain excuses, nothing else.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing that I kind of observed was the fact that India's fielding, it has been atrocious for the entirety of the series, right? Even today we saw, I think when Australia were batting, we saw at least four dropped catches, and none of them were easy catches, but at the international level you have to take those catches if you want to beat a team like Australia. So, what do you think can be the solution to that, or what exactly is the problem? I saw Radha Yadav, who's one of our better fielders, also drop a catch in the boundary, right? So, where are we going wrong when it comes to the fielding department? Are we just not a fit enough team now, Arjun?
Uh, it's honestly hard to tell where, because if we talk about batting and bowling, we can say, okay, so these are the places where we are going wrong. Well, let's say we are playing a specific type of ball wrong, or we are not adjusting to conditions when it comes to bowling. But when it comes to fielding, it's quite perplexing because it has to improve. And Harmanpreet has been pretty vocal about India becoming a better fielding team, but on the field there has not been that change that's been happening there. And I thought Radha was brilliant in the New Zealand series, and she also had a very good catch in the T20 World Cup as well. So I thought maybe seeing those things, the fielding standards might start to improve, but this series was just atrocious. The fielding, to be very honest, for instance, today as well, when Australia were some 70 for four or something, we had the opportunity to put them under pressure, but uh, la- la- combination of not so good bowling and terrible fielding just let them back in the game, and then they just ran away with it towards the end. That's what Australia do. They know that when there is an opportunity to seize the game, they take full advantage of it, and uh, that's something that Harmanpreet and the management need to work on, be it whether it's fitness or more fielding sessions or whatever protocol that needs to be followed. And that is something they need to really hone down on prior to the World Cup, because going into the World Cup with this sort of fielding standard is just not acceptable.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one other another thing that I noticed in the match today. And today's match is probably a beg your pardon. Today's match is probably a classic example of a team letting the other team get away with it, right? Because the runs we leaked in the middle overs, especially when our spinners were bowling. If I quote the figures of some of the bowlers earlier today, so Deepti Sharma, who's our frontline spinner, and our most experienced spinner at that, went for 77 runs in 9 overs. Only Arundhati Reddy was the one pacer who kind of stood up and did the talking with the ball. She picked up 4 wickets for 26 runs in a 10 overs. Everybody else has an economy above or close to six. Some even have an above 8 or 7 economy. So, what was the game plan in that respect, do you guys think, Pritish? So, the middle overs, it has been a problem. We've seen this uh, play out in previous matches, especially against Australia as well. I remember the Commonwealth Games final where India had Australia again in a difficult situation, and we just let them get away with it, right? So, what was the game plan you think in the middle overs, and where did we go wrong?
I think we constantly fail to apply any pressure, Shan. That's what everything is about. The fielding you were talking about, it's about you have to apply pressure and get the wickets or you put the other team, and you did that. Arundhati started so well, like it was a brilliant, like the dreamy start, I would say, against Australia. You get the top two batters out, what else you want? But no, like, and I think it's about the mental fortitude of this team. I've been vocal about this for a long time. I don't think this team has the mentality to get it at the top, because how long you're gonna keep saying the same thing that it's a process, or it's something we are working on. What are you working on then? Fielding, if you remember, Shan, 2022 series against Australia, away series, couple of games we lost it because of fielding. We missed the run out in the last over, we missed catches, and we lost it because of fielding. I don't think Radha Yadav can be excused, like one bad catch she left, okay, because she keeps plucking all these worldies, but what are others doing? And when it comes to bowling, if you notice the pattern, a lot of full balls. I don't know why. When, like, there is a batter in front of you who is experienced. So I think it all of that, skill issue is obviously there. It's very clear. But more than a skill issue, I believe that it has to do something with the mentality thing. Because I don't see the mentality where you want to get them, or probably you have dropped your shoulders halfway through the game that, oh, this is Australia. Okay, come, it's Australia. And you are the only team that has toppled them somewhere in past couple of years. India has been is the one team that would put fight against Australia. Then what is
That is
wrong
the
now?
disappointment even more, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking about this, the other thing that has to be talked about a little bit more is the application that our bowlers had in this particular series. Because when you compare it to the Aussies, the likes of Annabelle Sutherland, who was absolutely fantastic today. She scored 100 and took, I think, 2 or 3 wickets as well, along with Ashley Gardner, who took a fifer. So the variety that they have in their pace bowling attack, they mix and match their bowling so well. They bowl a bouncer, they bowl a slower bounce after that, they bowl a Yorker at some point in the over just to keep the batsman guessing. And when we see the likes of Renuka Thakur, Arundhati Reddy is probably the only exception in this particular series. But when you look at Vitas Sadhu, when you look at Renuka Thakur, these people, they just don't seem to have the pace or the lethal aggression to trouble Aussie batters in Aussie conditions, right? What would be your take on that, Arjun?
Yeah, so the first thing I need to say is that Australian women's cricket team is a well-oiled machine. Like they know their roles, there is role clarity, there is good management from the everybody knows what they are supposed to do. So even at 70 odd for 4 wickets down, they did not panic at all. They know what needs to be done and they got the job done. And today, even when batting, when Smriti was scoring 100 and Jemima was scoring well, and they had a small partnership with Diol as well, they did not panic at all. They knew their plans, they stuck to it, they knew their strengths, and they knew that if they keep persisting with it, they will get through. And that is something that India needs to take away. We might not have the express pace bowlers or the the variety bowlers that Australia might have, but we do have certain strengths of our own. Like for instance, today Arundhati's strength was a swing, and she used it to perfection. Like she just kept it swinging, swinging, and she got the wickets. Two right-handers inside edge bowled, and two got behind with to the two lefties that she took. So she operated within her strengths, and she was able to reap the rewards for it. And that is something that every bowler has to sit and think: what are their strengths and how to apply it best based on the conditions. And if the conditions are not going to favor you, how best to minimize the scoring of runs for the opposition. So that's how you build pressure. So once the opposition's run scoring opportunities are gone, that's when they'll start trying something else. And of course, fielding has to be set that when the fielders back your bowlers, and that can create additional pressure for the batsmen, but sorry for the batters. But then again, it's a lot of things are going wrong, to be honest. So there's a lot of introspection that needs to be done in the Indian camp, and let's hope that in the coming days they are the think tank gets together and arrive at proper solutions.
Yeah, with the World Cup coming next year, that is of that has to be addressed immediately. Another thing that absolutely blows my mind is we've discussed about this previously in the other live that we had just before the start of the series. Arjun will remember that India will be missing its bowling all rounder, main bowling all rounder in the form of Pooja Vastrkar, right? And let me just give you this particular stat. So Australia today, even when India were doing well, and when India had the wicket started falling in the middle overs, Australia rotated the bowlers so well. They had Megan Schutt, Kim Garth, Elise Perry, Annabelle Sutherland, Ashley Gardner, Sophie Molyneux, Talia McGrath, and Alana King. That's 8 different bowling options that Australia uh, had in their arsenal to use against the Indian batters. But when you look at the Indian bowling lineup, we had just six available options, and even then, half of them went for a lot of runs at a very expensive economy rate. So, would you say, Arjun, that this did come back to bite us? The lack of a legit bowling all rounder in the middle overs.
Yes, that definitely is a loss, losing Puja right before the series. But then again, the bowlers have to step up. Like Arundhati stepped up today, and I believe Renuka stepped up in the first game. She picked 3 quick wickets, but uh, a largely inexperienced bowling attack. But then they could have again played to their strength, is what I feel. And talking about Australia, as you said, 8 bowling options today, and they still managed to bowl India out for a very low score. Except for Smriti, there was no other contribution. I think Smriti scored 100 and Harleen scored 30 or 38, 39, and the other batters did not cross 20. That shows the level of confidence that the Indian batters have on themselves, and also the level of confidence the Australians have on themselves to get the job done, even if they are going to rotate bowlers here and there. Uh, I think, as Pritish was telling, also it's a mentality issue here. There is a skill issue as well, but largely it's a mentality issue. And I think once Pooja comes back, the bowling lineup can look a little more balanced. But even in that sense, I feel like we did have a good bowling attack to restrict Australia to a decent score. Like I felt like it was not a 98 wicket today. After 77 for 4, we should have got bowled them out for less than 250 at the very best. Letting them score 298 is just too much. The first ODI, of course, India getting all out for 100. Bowlers did not have anything to work with, so we can excuse the bowlers there. And in the second ODI, I think it was just a day out for the Australians, and we we keep coming up with excuses for everything. But I think at the end of the day, we need to just sit down and see where things are going wrong. And I think it's going to be a tough job for Harmanpreet and the management in general to come up with solutions. But Yeah, Pooja there could have helped certainly.
So yeah,
I'll
we
tell you
have
where things
addressed.
are going.
Yeah, go on.
I'll tell you, Arjun, where things are going wrong. The captaincy. That's where things are going wrong because no matter you give them Pooja Vatsakar, Shikha Pandey, whatever you give, it's not going to work because you look at the rotation of bowlers. It sometimes it's very atrocious. I'll be very honest. You are putting pressure. Someone is bowling well. You change. You bring up another bowler. I don't understand. And what my problem with this kind of captaincy is that you kind of your bowler also loses the confidence. He or she comes and gets it for a 12, 15, 18 run over. They lose the confidence, and then you just in terms of experimenting. I mean, for example, look at Australia, look at the kind of players they have. And it's not that we don't have utility players. We have utility players. We have someone like Deepti Sharma who can do it all. Radha Yadav, Tyler, like the captain of Australia at the moment, McGrath. I mean, I'm absolutely adore her for the. She can do everything. She can bat. Even if Australia is five down, Tyler McGrath is coming. She is going to score runs, and she has done it in past. She comes back, bowls 2 over, gives 15 runs. She is a brilliant fielder in the outfield. So my point is that it's not that India doesn't have the talent. India definitely has the talent. Let's be very honest. If we are going to be joking if we are saying that India doesn't have talent, but the point being, where is the application? Even in bowling, I miss Shikha Pandey in Australia. The first ball, I think that was Alisa Healy. That ball was crazy. That ball was crazy. And as Arjun said, we should be sticking to our strength, but are we? We are not. We are not doing enough, and it all. I think Indian setup needs a overhaul. To be very honest.
Uh, Someone in the comments is saying Jemima should come before Harmanpreet. I don't really know if that would have changed the course of the game today or not, but yeah, that is definitely an option that we can explore. Well, especially because Jemima is used to the Australian conditions right now, right? She has been playing in the Big Bash League. Harmanpreet
Yeah.
hasn't. So maybe that is a good shout, should have happened. There's another comment. Prashant Pandey says that only 3-4 teams are playing well in women's cricket, yet India is unable to reach in semis or play a dominating brand of cricket despite having huge money invested. No lies there, Prashant. We can't be saying that that isn't the truth. That is absolutely the truth.
And I
And
think
there
I
has
think I think what has angered the fans and probably the women's cricket community or the supporters of women's cricket more is the manner it happens. If there is a fight, you are going to stand up and salute and say, "Hey, you played well, no issues at all. You gave it your all. It's okay, you lost." And that's what happened in the first few losses. But now, if you look at the way India loses, it's atrocious. I mean, how with all this facility and everything, and I don't really care what facility they're getting, they're not getting. But it's not that they don't have the talent or they don't have. Everything is available there. But the way it happens, the way they fold, it's just atrocious.
yeah, yeah. Just the final bit of discussion that I wanted to do with you guys is about the youth and inexperience that we have addressed before in this chat. So, what was your takeaway from the performances put up by the youngsters in this particular series? I think this was Tita Sadhu's first Australia tour, if I'm not wrong. Probably Renuka's second. I think she was there in the previous tour as well. But for the likes of Tita Sadhu, Minnu Mani, I think it was her first trip as well. She was a standout performer with the bat as well. She scored some runs. Any particular performance or any particular player that stood out for you, Arjun?
Uh, Not really. I think they did one or two things right, but largely it was underwhelming to say the least. For instance, as you said, Minumani did well with the bat on one game, but she was poor with the ball in the same game. She leaked some 71 runs with the ball in the second ODI. Priya Mishra, again, she started the first ODI well. She picked up 2 wickets, although she bowled only 2 overs, if I'm not wrong. In the second ODI, she gave away some 80, 90 runs in the 10 overs she bowled. And she did pick 2 wickets, but then giving away that many runs is just not going to help the team in any way. And that's been the case for a lot of our new faces in this particular ODI series. Uh, yeah, there has been in fact, the senior players did not step up, to be honest. Outside of Smriti Mandhana and the third ODI, I don't think anybody else took up the mantle to lead the side out of a dire situation whenever they are put under pressure. And so when the seniors don't do that, expecting the young players coming into the side playing against the Australians in Australia for the first time, I think it's a little too much of a task to ask them to do that. But then again, uh, as I told you, they have been doing well in parts, but as a whole, I think it's been like a underwhelming return for the underwhelming returns from the youngsters in the store.
Pritish, anyone that caught your eye, maybe or not?
I think I was impressed by Minu, to be very honest, and Saima also. Saima did so well. She
Yeah, of
picked up
course.
three
Saima did well
wickets.
in yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
is the second ODI, gave only 62 runs. And Minu, obviously, Minu is a talent. You have to. That's the kind of utility player we are talking about. Someone like Minu Mani. She needs to be, trained well. She needs to be there and she needs to learn. So I think these are two names that stood out to me. But I agree with Arjun that youngsters are not someone I was really looking at. I was focusing on the core group and how they perform. And as we have already, made it clear that they were bad.
Yeah, yeah. We also saw, so speaking about young talent in women's cricket in India, we also saw the young 18-year-old Neelam Bharadwaj who came out of nowhere and blasted a 137 ball 202 yesterday in the domestic ODI, women's ODI championship. And yeah, I think she became the second Indian woman to score a list 100 after Shweta Sehrawat, and the youngest at that as well, at just 18 years of age. So, yeah, when you say that it's a lie to say that India doesn't have talented players, it's probably the right thing. But yeah, it's all about the application and how you apply yourself on the biggest of stages and against the best of oppositions. Yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. Thank you again. It's disappointing, I understand, but uh, we'll just have to look forward to the next series, I hope. But yeah, we have a World Cup coming up, and the team has to buckle up and get back to doing its best in matches against the top oppositions. Any final words from you guys, Pritish?
I really want to see some strong calls to be taken, and some more accountability from the team management. At least there is something, because trusting the process and seeing no progress makes no sense to me.
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough.
that's true. I think that at the end of the World Cup, I think big calls will be taken. I don't think there will be any changes until the World Cup with regards to the management of the team. Uh, we can just hope that they get their heads together and figure out a solution for all of this. But yeah, if they don't, then I think World Cup will bring to an end a lot of the names that we see in terms of the management and the think tank.
Yeah, yeah. We can only hope that the team gets its act together ahead of the World Cup. Thank you all so much for joining in. We've had quite a few comments as well. People have been following the series and are as disappointed as us with the team's performance. But yeah, there's always a tomorrow, and we can only hope that the team gets its act together and performs better in the upcoming series. Thank you so much, guys, and keep following all our content across our socials, especially on YouTube and as well as on our website, thebridge.in. Stay tuned. Thank you and good night.